Hello and welcome back to another episode of Fat Guy with a Ponytail. I think this is our fourth episode so far where we're tracking how I'm doing with the bariatric surgery and recovery. And this week we're talking about pureed foods. But before I start into that, I will say that because of, I'll cut to the chase. I basically told a couple of my friends um, who I neglected to tell earlier, and a couple of coworkers. Again, not shouting from the rooftops because I think this is an amazing thing. It may turn out to be, I don't know. Um, but more because they know me. I think I may have talked about this earlier that I enjoy having a few drinks and going out with folks, and also a life of piracy. This was with my bandmates that, they were going to figure it out. But my closest friends that date back, one of them as far back to, I want to say, third grade, knows me very, very well. And there was a lot of discussion about, we've talked on and off as I've continued to gain weight and not take as great care of myself. And he's a very big fitness buff and really enjoys running a whole lot and has been trying to be encouraging and support me at every point when I've tried to do this and ultimately failed. Naturally, he's in the camp of not necessarily the easy way out, but there's a good chunk of folks, I think, out there who fall in the category of, well, it shouldn't take surgery, you should just, it's a lifestyle change. And I think, again, we go back to the same conversation that happens frequently. That is, well, this is a tool to help with a lifestyle change. It's not saying that that's not going to change. And some people, sadly, don't make the lifestyle changes that needs to happen. I really hope not to be among them. The plan is not to be the case. I suspect that the other folks who may have had that happen felt the same way and somehow slipped and then didn't get back on course. I'm kind of feeling like that's not going to be me, but let's focus on the moment. That's the key. And for the moment, I'm on pureed foods. So what does that mean? That means basically food that can be turned into a substance that looks like tapioca. You look online and you see a lot of creative ways to pulverize food, put it in a magic bullet, and turn it into mush, and then suddenly you can eat it. This is not something that I'm very excited about with respect to texture. I have problems with that. However, I will eat tuna salad, and chicken salad is something that I don't typically eat, but in a pinch, quite honestly, after all of the liquid food, even solid protein shakes and beef broth and chicken broth, a solid food of any kind where I get to use any sort of chewing it was a great thing that I was looking forward to. And I think we tried it out yesterday with some buffalo chicken salad, because why do anything small? Add the spices to it. That turned out okay. And then the fabled ricotta bake, which is basically, I think, for those of us who have an aversion towards cottage cheese, which honestly, when I think about ricotta, I think it's probably cottage cheese for Italians. But I've grown up that way, obviously. And so that was a cheese that looked appealing, and basically the recipe's like, take that, maybe some mozzarella, be careful with that because it's chewy and you don't want that to get stuck. Some Parmesan, some basil Italian seasoning, little smear of tomato sauce on top of that, bake it 20 minutes, and you're done. It's like, wow, okay, that sounds pretty good. It's almost like lasagna without the noodles and stuff. So we go ahead and bake that up. Had some of that yesterday, and today that's turning out pretty good. There's a controversy that goes on about these things, that is the refried beans. And there was, until 2016, at least in this program, they were just fine. But apparently, somewhere along the way, the nutritionist basically said, no, 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 they're a starch. Are they a starch? They're not really a starch completely. They're also a protein. They're a source of protein. Now, the ratio of protein to starch is not appealing. It's, I think it's like 8 grams of protein to 16 or more grams of carbs. So it may not be a great choice, but it's still not, in my opinion, an off-limits choice. However, we want to make the most of the program, so I'm trying to limit that, but it is definitely going to be a go-to if I need it. Other folks talked about like Wendy's chili, where if you just chew it up, and I guess that's the advice that I got from the PA who basically saw me after my 1 week post-op. Oh, another update. We're down to 308, 309. So we're making progress. The thing is working. But it's also, I mean, honestly, on liquids, you would expect to lose a considerable amount of weight, I think. But anyway, she had said that it's pureed food, and the point is we're still getting used to chewing. And so while the stomach's still healing, we don't want to necessarily risk forgetting that. So it's better to just stay on the safe side and go with foods that can be basically turned to mush and eat those in case you forget. But so like the Wendy's chili, obviously you wouldn't want to forget that. And it has beans in it, which it's not supposed to, but really, I think in the end it's probably okay. I may try that one out too. We'll see. I did end up in a bit of a jam. My first day back to work was Monday, and for reasons that'll be left to the ages, there turned out to be an evacuation of the building and a giant suspicious vehicle incident that evacuated all the people from the building, and I was left to wander the city from 11 o'clock until roughly 4:30. During that time, I walked about a mile and a half, finding some Powerade Zero that I was able to find, as well as Au Bon Pain's chicken noodle soup, which I basically skimmed off the broth, left the other stuff behind, made a cup of that, and kept myself on track with respect to food and drink. It was a little dicey. I was supposed to actually work from home, but the VPN for work, and there were technical issues that basically made that impossible. And so rather than take the day off and lose more time, I elected to go in, and that's what I got for my trouble. But I found food, I found drink, we tried out a few bunch of things. We're still back on track with that. Other things, I'm walking a mile and a half, didn't feel as horrible as it did at a previous weight. How much of that is psychosomatic? How much of that is because I'm getting vitamins and other things included? We don't know. But the theory is that there's some positive effects here already that are happening with respect to being able to walk distances. Felt it a little bit more in my lower back than I typically do. But in general, that was a pretty positive experience. And yeah, I think as long as I get sleep, I'm actually pretty good. So what do we have coming up is next week. Well, we got the weekend ahead, which not sure what's going to happen there. But then Tuesday of next week, baseball game with Dad. I think we're on soft foods then. What does that mean? It means eggs and lean lunch meats and stuff like that, and really having to focus and start focusing at least and learning chewing. So it's going to be chewing and not drinking anything after I've had a meal for 30 minutes afterward. That'll be interesting. And then there's a pirate sort of gathering that's local, close to home. Going to do that for Talk Like a Pirate Day. And that'll be the first opportunity to sort of hang out with people who know me, who don't necessarily know the story, and I'm going to do my best to try to keep that still in the DL. And then the big one, which is, as we've talked about before, the September 21st pirate gig, where I'm really going to have to focus on hydrating and planning strategies to actually make sure that happens, including, in my head, I'm thinking a tankard on the microphone stand and every song taking a drink in between. We will see how that goes. It had better go well because I think the band and the show must go on. Anyhow, we'll probably tune in maybe after the pirate gig and see how that all went and check in. In the meantime, I don't know. There should be some kind of saying that I say, but I guess we'll see you next time.